Yes, and
Thank you very
thank.
much for joining us here tonight. I know it's not been easy getting here.
Yeah, no problem. Good to be here. It's a lot of fun talking to you guys.
Yeah, well, it will be now that we can all hear each other. Right, okay, so as I introduced you earlier, you're Dan Ramierz, you're from Adobe Character Animator, and I do believe your official title is. Hang on, I've missed. Sorry, I've messed all my notes up here. Software Quality Engineer, is that correct?
Yep, that's it. Basically, I mean, that's a glorified way of saying I test the software. So, my job is to find bugs, file them, get developers to fix them. But we're a really small team, so kind of everybody is all hands on deck in terms of designing features and visiting customers and, that type of thing.
So you're the one that's trying out all the new all the features for the upcoming release, then?
This upcoming release, I actually do have a new responsibility, and that's kind of to, work with everyone, the customers, everyone else on the team. But I'll be the final decider on what actually gets into the next release. But yeah, I
All
mean,
right.
everything's really collaborative on the team, and everybody
And
does
how
a
long
lot
have
of
you?
roles.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's the same. I think that's the same with lots of small teams nowadays. Everyone wears many hats, many caps. You know, best, most
Yeah.
productive way to be, really. Oh, we haven't lost audio again, have we? Ant?
No, no, we're fine.
Nope.
We're good.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yep, we're good. I was just
Yep.
waiting for a question. Sorry.
Yeah, Scott,
Oh
we
no,
was, we
it's
was both waiting for you to ask a question there. I was like, I was waiting for it to come on because we do have that slight audio lag. I thought like he's gonna say something, so I'm not gonna say anything this time. But I'm waiting for him to say something.
Right.
right. Okay, so as you said, so ultimately it's your response, your decision, what new features go into the next releases.
For this very next release, yes. It's, at least in my view, I feel like we've made so much progress over the last year or so. And, I have a large motivation, as does pretty much everyone else on the team, to kind of take a step back, look at what we've done, and polish it a bit. So, this latest release, we added a new type of physics behavior that uses collide and dynamic tags. So previously we had the ability for things to dangle. Now they can fall and be thrown. You can build guns. You can shoot rockets. You can, knock things over. You can drive trucks into puppets. But there's just little bits of, and we added the new triggers panel. And there's just a little bit of polish here and there where, maybe in some cases you want to trigger in and it doesn't work, but the context menu works. Well, let's polish it up by, I guess what I'm saying is instead of adding some big new feature, I'm really motivated to tighten up what we already have.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think everyone's looking forward to. But you got lots of new features coming out though, so there's lots to look forward to, and I'm particularly looking forward to the ability to add more triggers because even today I was adding in new expressions for this my cartoon character right here, and I was literally running out of buttons on the keyboard. I know a few weeks ago I come up with a system that you can um, double up the amount of buttons that you can use, but because this character is so old, I wasn't able to use that suggestion of my own. So I'm looking forward to the whole MIDI. Can you explain how that? So basically, it's going to be working what off a keyboard, or can you talk us through a little bit how the new trigger system will be working?
Yeah, so I would say outside of how you control it with a MIDI device or something like that, even if you're just using the regular keyboard to trigger things, our new trigger behavior now allows you to, previously we had something called hide others in group, where if you show a
Mm,
layer, it can hide another layer. We now in the
yeah.
triggers panel have a concept of a default trigger, and swap sets, which if you show one trigger within the swap set, it will hide the other triggers in the swap set. The really cool thing is that now those things that are being hidden or shown can be any layer in the puppet. So you no longer have to put everything in one group. So if you have a swap set for, maybe the character is a flame character and you're triggering a bunch of cycle layers animations on the clothes and the head and, to kind of give an overlay flame group instead of having to copy and paste, one trigger everywhere, you could just drag all of those layers that want to be triggered into one swap set. And then, so we now have, and then on the MIDI control, typically MIDI controllers were piano keyboards that would send messages saying you hit this note. But pretty recently, in the last 10, 15 years, there's been a resurgence of MIDI being used more to control things. I'm a huge fan of a piece of software called Ableton Live. And I've designed a live music performance thing where I'm looping one guitar with my foot, and then I loop another guitar amp with my other foot, and then I loop a keyboard with one foot, and it's all like this programmable thing built on MIDI. So MIDI devices no longer look like keyboards. They can, but they could have just knobs, they could have just buttons. But there's $60 devices with a ton of buttons and knobs that you can then assign to various things on your character.
Yeah.
One awesome thing is that you can assign. Sorry, go ahead.
So as we say every week in the show, we've got that. I don't know about Anthony, but definitely with my character, there is a little bit of a time lag. So where normally in a conversation, if somebody stops talking for a second and then the other person chips in and says their bit, the problem with the time lag is that when you stop talking and I start talking, you don't actually hear me until you started talking again. They just sound, you have this kind of trippy up thing, and it takes a little bit of getting used to during the talk, and we have it every week, so I apologise about that. No, what I was saying was, obviously, yeah, you're saying that you can get little MIDI devices, but I imagine that you'll probably be able to get a software, won't you, like on the computer or something like that to
like a virtual MIDI device.
Yeah, a virtual MIDI device. That's, I'd imagine, to be possible.
Yeah, I mean, I've set up some things. So it's really like, I feel like now that we have MIDI in the application, you can prototype so many really exciting ideas. They're not very easy. I wouldn't necessarily recommend, it to every user. But the fact that MIDI can contain recordings and we can program parameters in our behaviors to listen to MIDI, it means you can send automated messages to the computer. I used that Ableton Live I was mentioning, but you could, if you wanted a character's head to bob in a cyclical way, you could record or draw with your mouse a piece of MIDI automation that bounces up and down, up and down, up and down, and loops, and then you could press play in Ableton Live or another MIDI sequencer, play that into Character Animator using a virtual MIDI port, and then if you say attach that to the transform position Y parameter on like the head handle, then the character's head could bounce up and down using the same graph that was in the little MIDI file. And that becomes really neat when you start being able to use like an iPad as a MIDI source and draw shapes that you can then play into the application, or an XY pad where drag something around in a rectangle and that could be mapped to any handle in Character Animator.
Would you be able to use two triggers at the same time using something like that? So, like say, triggering a head bob while also triggering a slider to move the character or something like that?
Yeah, that's all super possible. And it's pretty neat because, eventually we really want this concept of triggerable keyframes. For example, we now have this gravity parameter where an object can fall, and it would be really cool to build like a little spaceship puppet that, you could trigger the gravity going from value, say 10 to 0. And then if you have control over the direction, you could build a little asteroid spaceship that flies around. When you press the trigger, it moves forward. When you let go, gravity resets to 0. So it just floats in the air. And you can now build that through MIDI. We obviously want to do it in a way that is more direct within the application. But yeah, I mean, I set up a PlayStation 4 controller yesterday to control a character's hands. And then I also made a little spaceship that flew around. And I'll be supplying those types of files online. Right now, it's not easy, but it's possible, which is really fun. And I think at some point, a game controller is going to be an excellent way to be able to control a character.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's definitely where I see the future going. And you can, like with both PlayStation and Xbox, you can get controllers where you have the little add-on with the little keyboards on them. So I'm imagining in the future that you will be using, the way that Character Animator is going is that you will use a controller like that, and you can have almost like a cartoon character, on a TV show, say like Family Guy and whatnot. Look, when you're watching a cartoon show and you see Peter Griffin walking around or Homer Simpson or any of them, there's no reason that you won't be able to do that with a character. If you got it rigged up so it's got a full turn and it's got all the different triggers for all the different motions and whatnot, you'll have a full character that you can completely control, and it's going to save so much time when it comes to animation that, it's incredible, in my opinion. I think it's really going to have a massive effect on the industry. A lot of people at the moment, it's just looking at Character Animator and they're seeing, like the way that working at the moment. But I don't think everyone is grasping exactly how powerful a software, a program it really is, and what a big impact it can have.
I totally agree. I think we are at the very, very, very beginning of, a really exciting future for this application. I was mentioning the collider tag. When you have the ability, so one, if you have a side profile view, you can now trigger walking left, right, which is nice without having to draw animations. When you combine that with some other motions, when we start being able to trigger arm animations like a punch or something like that, you could walk a puppet right up to another one, and assuming the hand is a collider and the other character is tagged as a collider with the dynamic tag, you could punch them and they would fly backward in response to the punch, which is so fun, and also would be so incredibly hard to draw by hand.
I think, Joe, I mean, is there any, will you be looking at making any sort of feature in the future where you can have two characters within Character Animator at the same time that can interact with each other separately, if you know what I mean? Because like how we've got this set up here at the moment, we're using two versions of Character Animator, or three, to bring them into using the broadcast software to bring them together. But I mean, it'd be really cool if we could have them all within one stage, and then like using things like the collider and the dynamics to like physically be able to interact in some sort of way.
Yeah, so I would say that works right now. The one thing I think that would really, really sell it would be a new feature, which we don't have, but it would be triggers options, so that when you say, when you collide the hand layer that's tagged with a collide with the head layer of a different puppet that's tagged with collide, excuse me, and the dynamic tag, that you could then trigger an animation that would like switch the character's face to kind of a squashed version for just like a little cycle. Then that would automatically like, so right now that will work. It just, the puppet won't deform at all. But you can right now, push another puppet over. You could throw a snowball at a puppet and have him like fall over.
That's really cool. Like I said, like when you it just opens up like straight away. I'm thinking about loads of different things that you could do with it all, and that's what we love. Like every time there's a new feature added, it's that whole thing. It's like, oh, cool, we can do this now, or there's loads of different new ideas, things that can be done.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the new physics. It came in late in our cycle, so a lot of us on the team hadn't had a lot of exposure to it. And I'm teaching a class at Max this year, an advanced class, and part of that I wanted to really get my feet wet with this physics behavior. So I built a scene where it was that ant character you saw earlier, and it would knock over a pyramid of bottles, kind of like those carnival scenes, and then it would hold on to balloons, and the balloons would lift the ant off the ground and like it would float away into space. And all of those things use the new feature, and it just started, opening my mind to what this could be used for. The fact that you can throw a bottle and throw a baseball and hit bottles with it means, you can now shoot objects, and Adobe's not going to be creating any like violent puppet packs, but I know someone out there is going to.
Yeah.
So it's
Definitely.
just fun seeing the new capabilities.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing those tutorial videos. I know that Dave Warner obviously does a lot on his OK Samurai channel. Do you do any tutorial videos, or do you leave that up to him to put them up?
Yeah, I'm hoping to do more. I used to do some in our beta program, and then once Dave Werner came on board, he's just so good at that it makes a lot of sense that he'd be doing it. But Character Animator is starting to get deeper and deeper, and Dave is a very, very busy guy. So I expect that I will probably start doing more tutorials, and mine might be, I'm less entertaining than Dave, so I might focus on the deep nitty gritty, some really advanced stuff for people with, a high level of patience that really want to be able to push the software, right to the edge.
Well, those would be great, and I'd definitely count us in as being one of the first people to check in.
We'll be watching.
Watch all them. We devour all them videos. And like I say, the amount
of
potential.
What you guys do.
Thanks. Well, it's all thanks to you, because literally it's all you guys over at Adobe just watching all your videos, and we watch everything, and that's the great thing about Character Animator, is that unlike other softwares, you've really pushed the boat out with providing tutorials, and you've made it so easy for people to learn the software, and there's such a wealth of it online to find that you just don't seem to get that with anything else. And so it means everyone's got a rapid learning, and it's also Character Animator is really easy to learn. Everything is so quick to do. It's it's not a difficult software. All you need is a bit of time. Even if you've never animated before, you sit down, watch some of the starting videos which Dave made about making a puppet. You could be making your own one by the end of the day. And talking about
I love his tutorials.
Well, talking about all these new features, can you give us any idea when the next update is going to be released?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I never know what the official rules are, but I can say, what is it now, October 10th? I'm going to be, like I said, I'm teaching this class at Max, and that is October 16th through 20th. And I'll be teaching it with the new version. So all I can say is, we're right there in terms of releasing the new version. It's going to be very, very soon.
Oh, brilliant. I know everyone's excited to get their hands on the new one. There's loads of cool features that just going to really help with a lot of things. So, yeah, we can't wait to get on it and start using it ourselves.
A question I do have is that when the new update comes out with all these new features, especially with the new triggers and stuff like that, is it going to have any impact on characters built in previous betas? Is it going to
that's a great question. I would say we hope it's not going to disrupt anything, but the new system is a little different than the old system. We will convert your old triggers to the new trigger style, and for the vast majority of puppets, that's going to work great. I have done some testing experiments with, some very complicated puppets used at Comic-Con for like Archer and Bart, and those did need some manual edits afterwards. The positive part about it is, while it may have added some work moving the puppets over to the new style, it also simplified things. The Bart puppet, for example, had a close-up view and a long view. And that meant in the old style, you had, the 0 key mapped for the close-up view. And I think it was just a default for the long shot. But those were spread throughout the puppet. And now you could just create a swap set named close up and another swap set named long shot, and then drag all of the layers into it. So they're all grouped together instead of having, that concept of a trigger like scattered throughout your puppet. It can be like in a much more organized fashion.
Right, so we might have to tweak some of the older, more advanced puppets, but overall, it's worth it because the new updates is going to save us a lot more time in the future going forward.
Yep, I think so.
Well, just looking at the comments down here, I see that Notice Me Cowboy is just asking the question of, talking about those new clipping masks, and I saw them myself. That's great. That's going to add a nice new little dimension, to really create some nice little features on characters. Can you, for anyone out there that might not have heard about this feature, can you talk us through the new clipping mask feature?
Yeah, so we now support clipping masks that you make in Photoshop. We also allow you to make a clipping mask in Character Animator. And for me personally, I know there's probably a lot of different reasons people would use them. I found them very useful for shutter style eyelids. So in this puppet, he just has a blink layer, but you could have eyelids that are, pretty large, depending on the way your character is built. Like this puppet has the gray layer on his face and then it's white behind it. You might find if you're using these eyelids that they just pop out of your character's head entirely. And people have tried working around that, and now you just make a clipping mask and it works. I've also found that I've also found it's pretty fun for building mouths. You can take a mouth and then just draw teeth all around the outside or all around the inside, and then clip them, and they'll force the teeth to stay inside the mouth. You can also, with a profile view of a puppet, take the front view of their mouth and just put it on their profile head. And if you use their head as a clipping mask, oftentimes just cutting that mouth in half will end up looking like a good profile view of the mouth. So it's kind of I found it really useful with eyes and mouths specifically.
Yeah, I think it'll be quite handy with the pupils as well, because I think sometimes, like the pupils in an eye, because the way at the moment, the way it works, it seems to work on like a square base. So if you've got like a round eye, sometimes the pupil can kind of like go off at the corners and stuff like that. And with the new clipping mask, obviously, you'll be able to clip the pupil, and you won't have to worry about it, going off over the head where it shouldn't be going.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great one. Nobody likes the floating pupil behind the, just floating on the face look.
Yeah, I've had that issue a few times actually. So yeah, that'd be really handy.
Yeah. And it's like I said, with all the new features that are coming out, it's just, you've really seemed to have finessed and really thought about what animators are, what they're needing. Because obviously when Character Animator first came out, it was a part of After Effects, weren't it? It was, from what I can gather, it was just like almost like a plugin, or it was a plugin. But now it's really, over the last year, it's like just really steaming forward as a major software. And I do believe it's no longer in beta, is it? It's being released as a fully fledged software all by itself.
Yep. So this next release, it's our, we're calling it our, it's the first non-beta release. So it's pretty exciting for us. I felt like we've been, ready to say that ever since we had editable visemes, but at this point, fully fledged software, a lot of support at Adobe, and it's really exciting and really fun seeing something like this get built from the ground up at a large company like Adobe. It's very hard to build small pieces of software at a large company, and they've committed to us, and it's growing, and it's really just a lot of fun.
I can definitely see
the higher ups. Oh, sorry, you carry on, Ant.
I'm saying, I can definitely see this growing into a much bigger software. Like I say, it makes it easier for people who don't have any animation like skills and stuff. It's a good gateway to get in, and I can also see it taking over. Like the more it's progressing, the more like you can be done with it, and I can see it being used for mainstream animation one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Mainstream animation, and right now, I think the rewards go to people that can draw their own artwork or know people that can draw their own artwork. And I'm pretty excited about a future in which, you know, you give some people that are creative, they can animate, they have good ideas, but you know, like you guys, you do such a great job creating content for other people, and I'm just really excited to see. You know, I want to see a world where, you know, puppet makers are making a ton of puppets, and you know, there's a lot of collaboration between, you know, your average person, and the ability to take an existing puppet and modify it, almost in a 3D modeling type of way, where you could take a character and make them fatter or skinnier or a different color or a different texture.
Yeah.
Just, you know, some extra controls to make it more your own.
I mean,
Are
yeah, that.
the high...
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was gonna say that's
Well, we need to work out a system, and okay, what's
Yeah,
going to happen
but
now is I'm
the
going to
over
let you
system.
go first, and then you can. If you don't say anything, then I'll say something. Right, go on then.
Right, I forgot what I was gonna say now. You might as well carry on.
Okay. All I was going to ask is, are the actual higher up the ladders at Adobe? You know, the big wigs. So
Adobe.
they're starting to get. Sorry, Adobe. I've said Adobe for the last 20 years. We've been, you know,
Yeah,
using
I
it
know.
right back since the 90s. Okay, Adobe. Are the people up at head office in Adobe starting to get really excited about Character Animator?
Yeah, I think so. Like, you know, this kind of started as a small little offshoot of After Effects, and you know, we were underground a little bit, but it's hard to stay underground when, you know, someone like The Simpsons decides to use you for a major broadcast. You know, about 1 year into it actually existing. So you know, at at that point, you can't hide anymore. But yeah, I think, you know, we were on Jim Cramer's show, Mad Money. Um, Adobe had Bart at Max last year. So our profile, you know,
It's
in
shining,
Adobe
yeah.
at large, is kind of, you know, larger than you'd expect. But it's so fun. Like, I mean, I just consider this a total success because, you know, software that is fun is and engaging. I don't know. There's nothing better. Like, that's why I work in this field, and that's why, you know, I still work in this field. Like, it's too fun to quit.
I think no, look, and that's the thing. There are so many people out there who you think about the most when you think of fun professions. Being an animator or being a cartoonist, it's got to be right up there at the top. Okay, a lot of people don't understand the actual hard work that goes into animation, and in fact, a lot of people when they actually look into animation, it just seems, you know, such a massive learning curve, and so people don't pick it up. And the thing with Character Animator is that it's actually opening it up to everybody. Okay, and yeah, Character Animator can be open to everyone actually. Yes, you can be a great animator, a great artist, and you can create fantastic looking complex puppets, but at the same time you can just draw a doodle on a A4 piece of paper, or you can even make plasticine models like Dave was showing the other week, take photos, scan them into the computer, and you can still create fun looking cartoons very quickly and start putting them on YouTube or doing them live. And I think a lot of people very soon are going to start waking up to the huge amount of potential from this software. And I think also with the way that virtual reality is kicking off, and a lot of people are living a lot more in a virtual world, and you've got a lot more brands. Look, as you mentioned yourself, The Simpsons used Bart a couple of years ago, and I know that you have on the Tonight Show, you've got like Donald Trump and all them other cartoon characters, and then you've had Archer, and just a few weeks ago, My Little Pony. A lot more brands are going to start using this to bring their cartoon characters to life, so that, you know, no longer is a cartoon a one-way conversation when you sit there and watch it. You can actually get involved and talk to the characters. I think it's a very exciting time, a very exciting software.
It's like you said earlier. You know, it's a good way that you can collaborate. Where, you know, some people might be really good at creating designs, and others might be really good script writers. But it's a good way that, you know, like we do, we'll supply characters to someone who might have a really good idea and might be able to make a good, you know, a good storied show. A lot of people can't do everything, and it's a kind of a nice way that you can, you know, everyone can do their little bits and make something like really good. Notice me, Cowpie has just put a message saying Character Animator is the only efficient way to produce daily regular content for YouTube as a single animator, which is a really good point for daily content and, you know, up to date news and stuff. There isn't any other software out there that allows you to do that.
Yeah, because Anthony's been trying to look into 3D, like, because obviously Character Animator is a 2D software, and Anthony's been trying to find a software for 3D, and he's been looking high and low, and he just can't find it anything anywhere. I don't imagine 3D.
Nothing affordable anyway.
And also, I noticed Cowpie said he noticed earlier that he was just saying Illustrator is difficult to learn in regards to making graphics. Well, what I would say to him is, actually, I create all my graphics in Adobe Animate, which used to be Adobe Flash, and it's incredibly easy to learn, especially if you're using a digital pen. Just draw it, and it's quite similar to Photoshop. You know, draw your outline, drop in your colours. Hey presto, it's easy to go. So you should check that out.
We've got a question from OK Samurai, and the question is, who smells the best on the CH team?
Oh, that's a great question. It's got to be me.
Okay, and I suppose the follow-up question to that:
it's not me.
Who smells the worst?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably Dave Werner. Got to be Dave Werner.
Yep. Issues with my character. Yep. Right, so
you're working there, Scott. Your eyes gone funny.
Yeah, it's alright. As I mentioned earlier, I've updated my character, and I've got a whole bunch of keys on my keyboard, and I'm not quite familiar. And also, I've got some keys that are lashed, some keys that aren't lashed. So, you know, like when for instance, instead of me having to hold my finger down on the mouse to make the eyes, you know, look around like I usually do, I've created triggers so I can just press a button and I look to the side. But then when I press other buttons, the eyes don't operate properly. So it's just a case of, you know, familiarising myself with all these new triggers. Right, so obviously we've spoken about the physics and we've spoken about the new triggers. What other new features are going to be coming out with the new release?
Oh man, that's a great question. You know, sometimes it's hard for me on the team to know what's new and what's not because, you know, we've just been testing them. So one thing, it's you know, kind of a subtle difference, but I think it makes a difference. We've got eye darts now. I've enabled the eye darts for this character, so now I can look. I guess actually you guys are mirrored, so now I'm looking right, looking left, I'm looking up, I'm looking down. You can do different quadrants. But this allows you kind of some control over the eyes that it's hard to control a character's eyes using the camera, especially while you're using the software. So I think eye darts have been a nice thing. Gosh, yeah. So we covered the physics, we covered clipping masks.
Well, I believe pose to pose, isn't that a new big feature coming out?
Yeah, so we've added, that's very similar to the eye darts in the sense that we've added a capability in the face tracker and I think some other behaviors like eye gaze. Maybe it's just the face behavior. But yeah, so now, you know, I can have the character jump from, you know, one place to another, and this just gives you, depending on how you have it set, a little more of the production quality, you know. And it's interesting. It's a look you're familiar with, and that look exists because people didn't want to draw the character on every frame. But the same way we like 24 frames per second movies, people like their cartoons where they kind of jump from pose to pose. So we have added pose to pose movement to the face behavior. And I expect that, you know, throughout the application, we're going to have a little more control over, you know, if you're controlling a character with a continuous input like a camera or, you know, a joystick or something like that, that then we would give you additional controls to, you know, if you want to have it look that smooth, that's great. That's a kind of a mocap look. If you want it to, you know, jump from pose to pose, then, you know, we'll add that behavior too.
Yeah, that'd be great. Again, it's a ideal feature to, you know, just to give more control to the animators and to be up there, you know, getting close to that, you know, professional look that everyone expects to see. So it's just another amazing feature. And I also noticed, well, there's two I got written down in my notes here to ask you about, and that is fader slider and layer picker. What are those?
Yes, so the layer picker, that was, you know, actually another quality engineer, Jeff Almasol, basically wrote that behavior. Which is, you know, the reason I bring that up is, you know, Jeff is a tester on the software. He's not a developer. He doesn't write C++ code. But our whole not rendering, but, you know, the animation engine is written in JavaScript. So he basically wrote a behavior that lets you pick a layer based on, you know, you can use a mouse, a keyboard, this and that. So I would say it has so many uses, and Adobe's got to do a good job creating content to show you when you would use it. A simple use case would be if you have head turns, you could apply the layer picker to the head turns and just animate the layer picker. If there's 5 head turns, it could just pick a number between 1 and 5. And instead of using key triggers, you could just on every frame pick which head is showing at a time. So it would be good for animating anything like that. It would also be, you know, I've used it because it can take an audio input. I've taken a mouth animation, like a cycle layers with a large open mouth animating to a closed mouth. And then if you apply audio input to it, it can actually play a cycle layers animation based on the audio. So if you are making loud sounds, the mouth opens. If you're making quiet sounds, the mouth, or if you're not making sounds, the mouth shuts. And you can even put a mouth inside that cycle that would show teeth and tongue. So I think that behavior could be used to get a new type of lip sync where the mouth is swapping inside, but you're getting a continuous animation. I see you guys use some of those tricks too, you know, so it doesn't look so choppy.
No, that's exactly how I do it in because I animate my mouths in Animate, and this character that I'm using right now is actually quite again, I did it ages ago. It was one of the first puppets I made, and in the early days when I was first animating the puppets, I was only creating a couple of frames and whatnot, where my new puppets that I make are full rigged mouths, and it's just like you say, in Animate I've got in loads of layers. I've got teeth, I've got tongue, I've got the back of the mouth, I've got a mask, and then I've got my lips on the top layer and whatnot. And it sounds like that I might be able to move that creation station over to directly into Character Animator instead of having to do it in Animate. And people that don't know how to use Animate and whatnot, then they're going to be able to experiment with that themselves and again create much more smoother, you know, professional looking animations.
Yep. Yeah, so the layer picker, it's hard to explain. I think this is a case where we really need to have a lot of functional content. You know, for example, those I don't even know what you call them, that carnival game where you hit a sledgehammer on something and it moves the ball up to the top and then rings the bell. You know, you could use that behavior to animate the thing sliding up to the top, and then the top layer could be a little cycle layers that shows the bell ringing. That could be triggered with audio, or you could just use your mouse to slide it. But that might have been a type of animation that would be, you know, kind of hard to control. So I guess the layer picker is great for moving back and forth in a cycle. Like cycle layers excels at looping cycles, at moving forward or backward, but more in one large sequence. This kind of gives you more arbitrary control over that point in a cycle. And then the fader behavior, I honestly don't have too much experience with it, but I believe, you know, there were some people that just wanted to fade a character into the screen with opacity. And I think it might actually work with, you know, position X, but I got to admit, I haven't tested that one yet.
The thing is, you take these features and you create them for one thing, and then people start surprising you and like using them just to, you know, create all sorts of different things that you never would have thought of. You know, I don't know. I can think of all sorts of special effects, additional, you know, like smoke and stuff like that, where you can use like the opacity just again to create a higher level of quality to the animation production. And it's like I say, you just every release is just providing us with a lot more ammunition to really create stuff which you would never thought possible to produce in such a short time.
Yeah, and actually, the last two topics you mentioned, I think it's an important point that Jeff on our team, who is not a developer, was able to write the layer picker behavior, which allows people actually some quite sophisticated control over their animations. And someone out there is going to make some really creative, you know, use out of that. At some point, and I think this is why After Effects has been so popular, we're going to need to allow everybody out there to do what Jeff did. You know, those that are inclined to want to kind of get their fingers dirty with at least some JavaScript code, because there's no reason everybody should be waiting on the character animator team to innovate in this happen. I think for us to be ultimately, you know, as good as we possibly can be, that's when third-party developers, it's when just regular people out there can start extending it on their own. Maybe they sell it, maybe it's free, but the idea being that Character Animator should be a platform for people to, you know, contribute their own skills.
Yeah, I think when that happens, if that ever becomes available, I think the software will then just explode in terms of all the, you know, like Flash did, you know, all the plugins that use the third-party plugins that used to be able to get to, you know, extend on the foundations of the software.
Yeah.
Is there what was it? Yeah, Notice Me Cowboy's got another question. Said, can you talk about how the new lip sync improves over the beta system? Is there any updates towards the lip sync in the newest version coming out?
Yes, there are. They're pretty hard to, you know, quantify. All I can say is, you know, give it a try, and it should be improved. And if it's not, supply us with things that, you know, you think should be improved, then we can take those and analyze them. We have used some like fancy machine learning to improve the lip sync algorithm. So right now, you know, we're gathering data, we're analyzing results, and, you know, I hope over time that this this approach we've taken can, you know, keep improving the quality of the lip sync.
And this is a question I think that gets leveled at you all the time, and I'm just going to ask it to see if it's even on the agenda, even on the horizon, if something that we should, you know, build our hopes up for just a little bit. Obviously, at the moment, you can use you use Photoshop and you use Illustrator as the master files that you then import into Character Animator. Have you got any plans to incorporate Animate as one of those master files, or is it just going to stay to Illustrator and Photoshop?
Great question. I would say that we probably underestimated the use of Animate, and we've definitely heard the request a lot. And I do think it's fair to say that we need to improve the workflow with Animate, whether that means that, you know, we support it as a master file, or whether that means we import it and, you know, it turns into a Photoshop or Illustrator document. I'm not sure the actual implementation detail, but you know, I would say that's one of the features that we hear quite a bit. It's also, you know, a considerable engineering undertaking. So,
Yeah, well,
you
that's
know,
what I
it
was
has to be
thinking. It
done with
might
some
be a
care.
bit too much. I mean, you can, if you've got a simple character, so let's just say if you've just got single framed mouth shapes, blinks and stuff like that, then you can use Animate because you can export it as an SVG file into Illustrator. You run into problems where you can't use Animate is where you build complex rigging and
animation tweens
embedded, yeah, tweens and all that. Obviously, you can't export them into Illustrator, and that's the reason why I use Photoshop. Is that I create all the animations in Animate, and then I export them as a ping sequence, you know, a ping movie or whatever it is called, into Photoshop, and then, you know, obviously I'll bring it into Character Animator.
Yeah, well, we hear you. I think I think the workflow could certainly stand for some improvement.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I imagine, as you said yourself, it's probably a massive, you know, engineering feat to bring in a whole new system and whatnot. And it's not a problem. It's not a problem to us. I think Illustrator and Photoshop works perfectly fine. It's only a few more minutes to export a thing out. I was just wondering whether or not it was even a possibility. But if you were to turn around and say, look, we're never going to use Animate, just don't get your hopes up, I think everyone will say fine. That's all right. I think they just, you know, want to be given a kind of yay.
When you say that, you mean you, because you use Animate, basically. See, I don't have that problem because I make most of my characters with 3D software, so it all gets exported out as a animation sequence and brought into Photoshop anyway. So I don't mind. Carry on as it is.
Yeah, I don't mind. I was just asking the question. I see the question asked a lot, so I haven't actually seen a definite answer, and I was just wanting to know if it, you know, put everyone out of misery. Just say, nope, it's not going to happen. Stop asking. Shut up. And
no, I would say there's definitely support on the team for some improved Adobe Animate integration.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Sounds good.
And okay, so as you said, obviously at the moment you were saying on this latest release, you was in charge of what features you felt were ready to go to be released out into the world and out into, you know, the public. Can you give us any kind of sneaky peek, heads up ideas of anything else you've got in the works, or do you have to keep it all under your hat?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say we are all so you know, focused on getting this release out that we haven't done too much planning on the future. There's definitely a list of features we all want, but you know, they're varying levels of difficulty. I think having a swap set within a swap set in the new triggers panel would be great. I think having triggers on collisions would be great. There's it's endless. There's so much we want. We have 35 years of feature requests sitting in front of us, so it's, you know,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
pretty fun. We need to sit down and you know, decide. I personally been making use of the shareable puppets quite a bit and finding just how powerful they are. So, you know, a lot of things I want are just tiny little tweaks to make that type of
they're definitely
workflow
handy.
even better.
I was using, like you say, it's a good way of the shareable puppets. It's a good way of, you know, just duplicating some layers and moving things around within Character Animator instead of having to jump back to, you know, the master file. I was using it earlier when I was taking my mouth shape just to transform it into another trigger. You know, I think it was this one. No, it wasn't that one. I think that was my E shape. Anyway, it's all, like I say, it's all these little finesses, which is great, and it just gives us a lot more options, and it enables us to build a lot more complicated puppets to do really impressive things with.
And of course, full body control. You know, that's something
Yes.
every person that gets in front of it, you know, or hand control, and you know, that we can prototype some interesting things now with the MIDI support. It's never going to be, you know, the ideal way to do it, but at least we can see if the animation looks good. Controlling it with two crude, mediums on a handle. And, if the animation looks good, then we can start working on, do you control hands with a video game controller? Do you do it with a leap motion? Victoria on our team has rigged up something to where she was controlling hands and triggers with a leap motion device. It's all that's definitely some research underway there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we use triggers all the time for like the characters that we build. Like, especially if people have got live videos. Obviously there's a lot going on when you're live. Not only pressing all the different buttons and whatnot, but just trying to keep it straight in your head, as we found tonight. And so we often trigger up a lot of actions. So like waving, pointing, gesturing, just simple things like that. So you can press the button and it's an automated action again, like you say, in a computer game.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of things right now that you have to do using cycle layers and hand drawing animation that you just shouldn't do. The blinks that you guys have that look great, you should be able to just do that in Character Animator to, take 2 layers and then trigger the animation of them closing instead of having to, create a full animated cycle.
Yeah, I get what you mean. But it's obviously, that's the way it's working, all these little things that are coming out. And as you said already, with the new feature with the layer mask, at the moment, the eyes that I've got at the moment, it's all like frame by frame and whatnot. But you could maybe, like using, just use, okay, I can think how I would do it in my head, but I'm not going to vocalize it at the moment. Character Animator is definitely one of them things. There's a lot of possibilities, and sometimes you do just have to sit down at the computer and you've got an idea of what's possible, but you just gotta, play around and tinker with it and get there in the end. In the early days when we was first using it, it used to seem to take ages to get a character to do something. Where now, because we've done all that tinkering and testing and experimenting, it's all really simple. And it looks like we've got a lot of new features to get our heads around, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into the new features and coming up with some new ideas and just seeing what we can do, really.
Yeah, everyone on our team definitely. We appreciate the level of work you guys do. So it's always really rewarding for us to, after we implement these features, to see what the people that actually use the software do with it.
Well, we're literally going to be working on a new live show soon. So we've actually got a couple of characters that Scott's been rigging up, and he's done some good cycle layers and stuff like that. So we're quite looking forward to getting that out there and showing, because these characters that we've got now, like we said, are probably the first characters that we made. So probably
the very first characters that we made.
So these are the most basic ones that we've got. So we can't wait to get a show out there showing like some advanced characters with lots of triggers, lots of expressions.
Don't even have bloody bodies, do they? Nope. Where with the new characters, we've got a lot of I've got a lot of secondary cycle layer actions. So I think we showed it last week, but for example, I've done it so the character will pull out his phone, and then that will lead into another folder. And it's not using the pause action, because the pause thing is great for other stuff, but the problem is with pause is that you lose control over what happens because it runs in a sequence. But the way that we've set it up, so you'll pull out his phone in one action, and then it'll stop in a folder, and then you'll press a button so that you can, you'll press the phone as many times as you want him to press, and you can actually make him do anything you want. You can make him press the phone, you could make him stop and show the phone to the audience, and then when you're ready, you kind of turn off that trigger and it works back to the original one, and you turn that one off, that latch one, and you'll put the phone away. And you can do that with loads of different things. And it's one of them things where it wasn't actually meant to do that, but it's a kind of hacky way that we go about it. And it's always, that's why we always look forward to the new features, because as you bring them out to do one thing, you discover that you can actually make them do something else altogether.
So like I say, the next feature with the MIDI controls, that'll make it, like I say, we've got these characters that have been made, have used pretty much every key on the keyboard, and it's completely full. But with the MIDI controls, it'd be a really good way of us easily being able to control it, blend some triggers and stuff. And so I'm looking forward to that. Even just moving the character around this, with sliders, moving them around the screen, up and down, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, like I said, we can't wait just to be able to like show people what can be done as well, and then hopefully, like, you know, people can see for themselves and start making some stuff like, you know, similar themselves.
Awesome.
Right. Well, I think we've kept you for quite long enough. What, we started at 8:30, so that was 2 hours ago. That we've
Yeah.
It took us a whole hour to get it all working, because it seemed to go through quite a few different softwares and a few different issues. But thank you very much for sticking with us and joining us in the studio, and, you know, telling us all about all the new features and going through everything. Obviously, people in the UK can't get to you, but I believe in the US you make some you have some shows, aren't you, where people can come down and see you?
Oh yeah. Both Dave Werner and myself will be teaching 2 classes at Adobe Max this year. That's in Las Vegas in the middle of October, next week actually. And then you know, we go to NAB every year, and Dave Werner is always giving Character Animator demonstrations. There's Adobe Video World, Comic-Con we went to. So yeah, we get out there quite a bit.
You'll have to see if, you know, up at main office they'll give you a bit of money and you can do a field trip over to Europe. You know, do a little tour around England, France, Germany, all those countries. You know, spread the word, go see the sites.
Yeah, no,
we're
overdue for we're overdue for a European trip. Definitely would love to visit you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't worry about the rest of Europe. Just come to England.
Yeah, just come to
England. Come to London. Yeah, I mean, London ain't that close to us, but, you know, we'll make the journey. We'll get in the car. We'll come up to see you. It'll be great.
Nice.
Right. So, again, thank you very much for joining us tonight, Dan. It's been very much appreciated, and
yes.
I think we're going to let you. We'll let you go now. We've kept you long enough.
Sounds good.
Right, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
and thanks for sticking with us through the technical issues. And no, we've really enjoyed hearing about all the new features on the show with Character Animator.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Well,
thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much, and we will see you. Well, if you come to England, we'll see you soon. Okay, we'll see you later. Bye.
See you later,
Bye.
Bye.
Right, well, again, thank you very much for Dan Ramierz. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I think you got it this time. You got it right, yeah.
Ramierz.
Terrible at pronouncing names.
I am terrible at pronouncing names, yes. You know, it is what it is. But thank you very much for Dan for joining us. That was great. I really enjoyed that, actually. I think all these little, like we were saying, all these little features that come out, you know, they just add so much more. You know, every time there's a new release, it just makes the characters more and more complicated. I don't mean complicated to make. I just mean the things that you're able to make them do, you know, the possibilities. And it's just, I really don't think, there's a lot of people out there that just don't realise the power of the software, the things that you can do. I reckon within the next 10 years, it's going to have a massive impact on the industry.
Yeah, no, I do. I agree. I think all the new features, like he says at the moment, are just adding more tools to Character Animator to just, you know, polish what you can already do. And like I say, the more stuff that's coming out, the more people are realising what can be done. Like I say, with My Little Pony recently, and like when people see the Simpsons video, it's like once people grasp that they can do the same things and just how easy it is. I mean, don't go by technical issues on this show. That's only because we've got a lot going on. If you've just got a simple show, it's very, very easy to set up. So
yeah,
like,
because most, you know, again, using vMix or OBS and Wirecast and all them, if you just got yourself, you know, you can set it up and you can be streaming live, and it's fantastic. Tonight we had the issue because not only have you got Anthony in one office, and then you got myself in another office. Then we had to bring in Dan all the way from America. You know, he's over in California, I think. I'm pretty sure he's in
Seattle.
California. Is it Seattle? Well, okay, well, that's still on the West Coast. Do you know where Seattle is?
Nope.
Yeah, I do. It's northwest, ain't it? I'm pretty sure it's northwest. Anyway,
I think the major problem we had tonight was an issue between I think it's a Mac issue with Wirecast, which we're going to have a look into.
Yeah.
We've had it a couple of times now where we've tried to use Wirecast virtual webcam output and getting that to run in Chrome, and it doesn't seem to pick up. So we've been having to go through Skype, then getting loads of audio issues with that. So it's that whole thing. We're using so many different software. So we've got Wirecast on the go, vMix on the go, Macs on the go, PCs on the go, and it's amazing that we've managed to get it all working together. To be fair, so it's just coming up with now we know, like, next time we have this setup needed, we'll run it like that. Keiju Kojo, Mr. Brown says, come to Japan. We should go to Japan. I'd be up for that.
Yeah. We got friends in Japan, haven't we? Well, I say friends. We got a friend in Japan.
Yeah, we know someone in Japan.
Yeah, we should come over. Oh, well, so there's a thing in the news last week where they're building a bridge, or, well, I don't know if they are building a bridge. They're proposing that they're going to build a bridge from North Japan to Indonesia, I think. And they're saying that you could actually drive from the UK to Japan, obviously by going on the Eurotunnel from England to France, then drive across Russia, down through China, and then, I don't know, on the ferries, making a short island hops across Indonesia and drive straight to Japan. It'll be a long bloody drive, but it's a possibility.
Nah, just get a plane.
Yeah, you might have to drive through North Korea. I don't know. That might be a bit of a issue with your passport, But anyway, yeah, I'll be up for going to Japan. Brett where did Brett go to? When I say Brett is another brother of ours. He was in, was it Japan or Hong Kong?
I don't know.
Oh,
don't ask me. I don't know. Really.
Yeah, well, anyway, the point is I've always fancied going over to, Japan, China, Hong Kong, all those areas. It'd be fantastic. I think those countries are so... You see, when you go over to France, Germany, Spain, even to America, culturally, there's a lot of similarities. So, even when you get countries where they don't speak the same language, it's you got your familiarities. But when you go to somewhere like Japan and that, it's such a brand new culture. There's it's a lot to take in. It'd be great. Right, Anthony, I know we've had a lot of technical issues this week. So what features can we get on with? Can we go, can we do school time, show time, news?
No, because due to our technical issues earlier, I haven't had time to set anything up really. I was just trying to get the audio and trying to get Dan in onto the show, so we haven't had a chance to set up any school time or the other issue I was having was with my desktop audio, so we can't really play any videos. So I think we might have to do a school time and some news and that tomorrow after tomorrow's interview. Because luckily we've got another show on.
That's right. Tomorrow we are talking with Mr. Robin Gladman from Aardman Animation, and he's coming to talk to us in regard to Aardball, the new platform for creators on YouTube. So we'll be talking to him about that. So what I think we're going to do is tomorrow we won't have any of the issues we had today because it's a different setup. It's a different way that it'll be imported. It's a lot more straightforward. So we'll have the conversation with Robin, and then we'll do the school time and the news and all the other stuff that we normally do in tomorrow's episode. So I think tonight we're just going to call it a day, call it a night, depending where you are, and wrap it up and say thank you very much for watching. Oh, hang on. Wait.
There's one more question.
Got a message
from Chris Culnane. It would be cool to see behind the scenes of how you put this put on the show. I think it was it our first or second episode? We
episode 1 or episode 2. You actually did that, didn't you?
Yeah, we done a run through of exactly how we set it all up, and I think we've even got it on our YouTube channel as a separate video on how to set up a live recording through vMix. I mean, we use
What
vMix.
I'll do...
Oh, carry on.
Sorry, carry on.
I'll say we use vMix.
All I was going to say...
Yeah, carry on. Go on then.
This whole lag thing is doing my head in. Damn it.
All I was saying is
What?
we use vMix setup, but it can be done exactly the same through Wirecast or OBS or whatever other broadcast software you can use.
You did an OBS one, didn't you, before we started using vMix?
I did an OBS video, which is also on our YouTube page, for how to connect to Facebook Live.
Yeah, but there's the reason that we went with vMix is that with OBS we had a lot of problems with lag. I know we got a bit of lag now, but we had proper real issues with lag with OBS, didn't we?
We've kind of found that we get less lag issues with vMix, and also the whole implementation of vMix Cool. We find
especially good for having the guests on the show. Yeah,
bringing in guests and for bringing in another character as well. If you're in separate areas, because like we say, Scott is in a different office to me, whereas if you've got a couple of people on computers in the same network, then you don't even need to do that. You can just do it all with NDI, which actually works a lot smoother and is an easier setup as well. Which I think we did also talk through in the first one of episode 1 or 2.
Well, what I'll do, Chris, is I'll find those links, and once the live stream is over, the repeat video is uploaded automatically to YouTube. And what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll find the links, and I'll put the links in the information below this video so that you can find it and go and check it out. And if you have any more questions, send us an email. You can send us an email at info@digicalpuppets.co.uk, and we'll be happy to help you out. Happy to help you. So, yeah, more than welcome to do that. Right, and let's just call it a night. Let's figure out what went wrong. Regroup tomorrow, and yeah, well, tomorrow I want to be talking about Star Wars. Yes, I know it's not animation, but I don't care. I want to be talking all about what you think. Did you watch the new trailer today, Ant?
I haven't seen the new trailer, no.
Oh, wait till tomorrow then. Wait till tomorrow and you can have a first watch reaction.
Okay, we'll do.
And we've got a few other things to look at. Right, okay then. Let's just wrap it up and drop curtain, say good night. See you later, everybody. Well, we'll see you tomorrow.
We will see you tomorrow. Goodbye. No. It's all gone wrong tonight. All gone wrong. And it's time to go.
It's the music from Star Wars too.